Okay, as portrayed by Saturday Night Live, Eric Trump is often caricatured as the dumbest son of Donald Trump. I don't know if that's accurate, but Eric Trump certainly is the most annoying to me. If you've seen him in television appearances, my prediction is you probably agree if your sensibilities are anything like mine. And he did something hilarious. He went on Fox News, obviously. Where else is he going to go? And he advocated in favor of a very particular type of regulation of websites like Google and Facebook that is really similar to something that net neutrality advocate doing for internet service providers, but which Donald Trump and his FCC have been diametrically opposed to, which is the idea of labeling some of these big websites or internet service providers as utilities / what are called common carriers under the 1934 Telecommunications Act. So I'm going to sort of really lay this out for you as clearly as I can. I want to set it up for you, okay? One of the issues around so-called censorship and free speech on online platforms is very similar to a net neutrality issue, which is that of Title II common carriers. So let's go back to the beginning. At a certain point in time, the country decided that things like phone service, for example, are no longer futuristic luxury technologies, but they're utilities like electricity, for example, or like internal plumbing, water and sewer service. So they became regulated under what's called Title II of the 1934 Telecommunications Act. So one of the strongest ways to support net neutrality would be by adding internet service providers, internet service, to this list of services that's designated as a common carrier. And they should be, because at this point in time in the United States, the internet is no longer, again, a futuristic luxury item. It's used for people's lives in every way, for work, for getting a job, for paying bills, for communicating with family. I mean, everything is happening through the internet. Even if you go to a store and swipe your credit card, a lot of those transactions are now being verified through the internet rather than over phone lines, as was originally the case. Republicans tend to be against that. Those who immediately wanted Ajit Pai, FCC chairman under Trump, to repeal Barack Obama's net neutrality regulations, don't want internet service providers designated as common carriers. So this is very similar to the Facebook, Twitter, Google censorship debate that a lot of people are having, wherein some believe that Google and Twitter and Facebook are just so big and they have such market share that they can't be allowed to sort of do whatever they want because they're just private online companies. They are, according to advocates of this ideology, sort of town square, almost like utilities, and therefore they must be regulated in a similar fashion to an ISP being regulated as a common carrier of the utility that we call internet service. That's the entire setup. And I know that that's a lot, but it's important to understand what I'm about to show you. Eric Trump then goes on Fox News, and he goes on a mostly unintelligible rant about censorship of conservatives on social media. But he does actually make the claim that a lot of these tech companies aren't really private companies anymore, that they have such monopolistic market share and they are so sort of integral to how people are communicating and getting ideas out there on the internet, that they are, in a sense, beyond private companies and should be governed by free speech like utilities, which is actually the word that you'll hear Fox host Steve Doocy mention at the end of the segment. He has clearly no idea that this is the exact argument for net neutrality, internet service provider regulation as common carriers. He doesn't know that. Ironic, hilarious. Here's Eric Trump on Fox News.
My father's social media director works in the White House. He got kicked off of Instagram yesterday. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, it was a bot or an algorithm. They always have an excuse. What can people actually do?
You know what the fundamental problem is? The people within these companies, they are so much on the opposite side that even when it goes to a human to check, right? And you want to keep certain things off. You want to keep certain things off, right? But when it goes to a human to check, you know, they see something that they don't like. They see a message that they don't like. And that's why, I mean, it's happening to everybody, guys. It's happening to Charlie Kirk. It's happening
How do you fix it? How do you fix it?
I don't know.
Your brother was here saying the same thing 3 weeks ago because he was being censored.
I'd love to see this go to the Supreme Court, to tell you the truth. You know why? And I think Kevin McCarthy, I think there are a lot of people who actually want to do something about this. But, they hide under the veil that, well, we're private companies. We're private companies. But you know what? You're no longer a private company when you're a monopoly. When Facebook has 1.7, 1.8 billion users around the world, you're beyond a private company. You become a monopoly.
Right.
And utility.
Right. This is the exact argument for saying when Comcast is the only game in town and the internet's used for everything, you're no longer just a private company that can do whatever it wants, as Republicans want them to be able to do. You are a utility, and there need to be some restrictions as to what you're allowed to do. This is exactly the type of thing that Obama was proposing with ISPs. And Eric's dad came in and immediately said, Title II, as common carriers, forget about it, immediately said, get rid of all of that Obama net neutrality stuff. So a few things here. First of all, I don't actually think Eric Trump really has strong feelings one way or the other in principle on this. It's just about what can I say right now that would be good for my team. He's not saying make Comcast a public utility. He's saying make Facebook like a public utility because he finds making Facebook a public utility to be useful to getting out positive things about Donald Trump or stopping what he sees as conservative censorship or whatever. But the underpinning values here are the same for making both public utilities. And I would actually argue the opposite, which is it is a stronger case to make the internet service provider a public utility than an individual website like Facebook. If you want to make Facebook be regulated like a public utility of some kind, you have to. Logically, it absolutely has to follow that as a precursor to that, the internet service provider being used to access Facebook should obviously be regulated as a public utility common carrier under Title II. I know, Pat, some people are going to write to me and say, Eric Trump isn't actually saying that. He's only talking about Google and Facebook. I understand that. He's not saying it because he doesn't get it, but the principle underlying the idea of one is the exact same principle underlying the idea of internet service providers as common carriers. He just isn't smart enough to get it.
Well, maybe strategically we should just lay down here and let him have the win, sort of play dumb, right? We can just say, oh, I guess maybe social media sites are disproportionately targeting conservatives, and social media sites are the new public square, and ISPs should be added to the services designated as common carriers. Just let Eric Trump have the win on this one.
Right. Yeah. So, hey, listen, Eric, you know what? I want to work with you to make sure conservatives aren't being censored in any way. And that includes conservative websites. That includes conservative users of the internet. So we'll make Facebook and Google and Comcast and Verizon and all of it. We'll make all of them regulated like public utilities. As a footnote, and I know that for most of our audience, I don't have to say this, but there's some interesting people that watch our clips on YouTube. It's not true that online media companies are censoring conservatives in any kind of deliberate fashion. You often hear that Twitter has a policy where if you misgender individuals, it's considered harassment and you can get banned, and that is considered some kind of anti-conservative bias. There is a very strong empirical case for why deliberate misgendering is a form of bullying, which should be blocked by the terms and conditions that Twitter is completely free to employ. But that's sort of a separate conversation. It's not even really the main interesting element of what Eric Trump is saying here. So I'm not going to go into it beyond that. But Eric Trump, I imagine that if you sat him down backstage and said, Eric, listen, what you advocated for is exactly the rationale that is being used to advocate for internet service providers also being regulated in that way. Do you understand that? My guess is he wouldn't get it. And if he did, he wouldn't care because it's all just about playing politics and trying to support his team, which right now, I would say it's the Republican Party, but it's kind of not even really. It's just the Trumpian wing of the Republican Party, which is sizable, but it is not all of it. And that's the team they've picked. And that's they're going down with the ship one way or the other. Make sure you follow the David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. Follow me on Instagram at david.pakman. We will take a quick break and be joined by Aaron Hamlin next to talk about approval voting, another voting method we haven't talked too much about. One of today's sponsors is privacy.com/Pakman, which is a free service that I myself use. Really useful in many different ways. Takes just a few seconds to link your debit card to privacy.com. Then you can create virtual credit cards that are linked directly to your bank account, and you use those virtual credit card numbers to buy things online, which protects your actual debit card so that it's not spread all over the internet. And one of the best things about it is how their mobile app and browser extensions for Chrome and Firefox make it really easy to use. Let's say, for example, that I'm signing up for a David Pakman Show membership. In the credit card number field, I already see the privacy.com icon. I just click it, choose which of my virtual credit cards I want to use, and the credit card number, expiration date, and security code are automatically entered. I can put in any zip code I want, and I'm done. And if you try to use my credit card number that you just saw on the screen, it doesn't matter because I've already deleted that virtual card, and that's the beauty of privacy.com. There are a ton of advantages to using a free service like this. For example, you can sign up for as many free trials as you want, then just delete the virtual credit card you used and never worry about getting charged for it. It protects you from getting hacked. It protects you when companies are hacked, which happens all the time. It is all completely free. All you have to do is click the link under this video to get started. And for a limited time, they're giving everyone in our audience $5 towards your first purchase when you sign up using that link.